This is Tommy Watt for TCT Boxing in association with IFL TV. I'm joined by Lucas Big Daddy Browne, getting ready for his fight next Friday. Thanks for joining us, mate.
Thank you, mate.
Been a little while back in Sydney. How's things been?
Well, it's been good. As you can imagine, I've had over a year off now, so that hasn't been the good part. But a lot of bullshit backwards and forwards. I've tried to keep as positive as possible. No pun intended. But yeah, I've been training like 6 days a week still, only the one session a day, so not camp style, but just keep me active, keep me amongst everything. A lot of sparring, stuff like that. I'm very happy to be back here doing the pads with Rodney Williams, who I believe is the man. So yeah, I can't wait. We've got a week to go before the fight, and I'm looking to smash.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's been, like I say, it's been a tough year. I know we've been in touch and keeping in touch. So you've been down in Perth. We've been obviously waiting for you to get back to Sydney, and you've only been back for a few days, and there's already a lot of talk around Sydney. You're on Fox Sports already, on the radio and everything like that, so everyone's starting to talk about you again. So, I guess let's start from the beginning. So the situation with the WBC at the moment and everything else. So you're, as far as I'm aware, you can't fight the WBC or the WBA at the moment, but you're clear to fight for everything else. So. I'm
clear to fight. I can't fight for a WBC or WBA world title, which fair enough. I've got to start from scratch anyway, so that's not going to happen. I believe the WBC ban is up in June, so regardless, I need a warm-up fight anyway. The WBA is still up in the air. That's a weird one. Letting my managers and things do that, especially with the whole Briggs thing.
Oh, well, that's what I was going to say. They're in the minefield at the moment.
So like, I'm good to go. I'd love to fight Equendo if that does come up. Next week I've got the warm-up fight, and then I'll be ready to go no matter what. So I'm good to go. It's up to the WBA, but basically license done, rego's done, everything's done. I've got no rankings whatsoever. I was in the top 5 in the world across all 4 at one point. Because we concentrated solely on the WBA, I lost all the rankings in the others, and then with all this bullshit now, I've lost everything. So I've technically got to start from scratch. People are wondering why I'm fighting Matthew Greer, who's 16 wins, 20 losses. But it's a warm-up fight against a journeyman for the purpose of getting back into the ring. That's the whole purpose, you know. So there's no point going into someone against a world-class challenger just yet. That'll be next or very soon. And
like I say, for you, it's I guess getting back in the groove after a year out first and foremost.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
All right, and so have you got an idea as to, and so you obviously focused on WBA previously, and that's a bit of a mess now with the Briggs situation and everything else. Moving forward, there's been talk about what your focus will be with regards to that, or are you waiting to see sort of what the reaction is?
Myself personally, I'd like to get all my rankings up across the board again. Like, why not? Why would you just restrict yourself to one belt? Why not have the options of 4? Or at least 3 with the champions. But I think for myself, a fight with Joseph Parker for the WBO would be a great start. Obviously, title contention wise. I think it'd be a great fight for the whole Anzac thing, the New Zealand Australia thing. A lot of interest. And I'd love to have another world title. Like that's my goal, no matter what. So I think myself and Joseph Parker will be a good sort of start of that, and then see what happens after that.
Yeah, there's a fairly large queue forming in Joseph Parker at the moment. I think.
And truly, man.
As far as the other sort of heavyweight contenders are going, I think he's first on everyone's list.
Yes.
I think Tony Bellew and Dillian White
exactly.
lining up for those shots. And so actually another fight, and a title that you've previously held is being fought for tomorrow. David Allen fighting Lenroy Thomas in Sheffield for the Commonwealth title. What were your thoughts on that? And was that a title you'd like to win again?
Well, First and foremost, I like David Allen. I think he's a nice bloke. I like the way he operates, everything else. He's a funny fella. So there's no hard feelings, animosity of any sort. As I said, I feel if I get 1 or 2 warm-up fights, then I'll be back to going up the ladder. So I believe David Allen in the past has said he's not ready for me, that's fair enough. I respect the guy's opinion. But recently he has come out and said if he wins this title, he wants to defend it against me. Now that was on Twitter, so that was from his mouth, so to speak. That'd be great. That'd be great for me to get back over to UK, get in amongst the fans and everything else, get some more exposure on wherever it may be. Obviously it's Eddie Hearn. And yeah, why not get another title? I love titles, they're great, you know. So add another one to the collection.
Yeah, I'd enjoy watching the build-up between yourself and Dave. And like I say, I think there's no animosity there.
No, that's right.
Fairly decent banter. All right, and then say looking at the rest of the heavyweight landscape, particularly in the UK at the moment. So she's firing on all cylinders at the moment. Obviously, the big fight that we've seen recently was the Joshua Klitschko fight. I'm assuming you watched that. So what were your thoughts on say the fight itself and what it means for the boxing?
Well, I think there's a few ways you can look at it. I think Klitschko let AJ off a few times, and that was just a lack of killer instinct sort of thing. There was the bit where Klitschko got knocked down in the 5th. AJ basically punched himself out and couldn't hold his hands up. So that was Klitschko's chance to come back and put something on him. At the same time, when Klitschko knocked AJ down, he should have then jumped on him again. So from that point of view, I think AJ's definitely shown a lot of heart and everything else, and it was a great fight for him. But at the same time, he's shown a lot of, he had a lot of holes and stuff like that. And I think Klitschko actually let him off rather than him winning, so to speak. Great fight, no matter how you look at it, and great for the heavyweight division.
Yeah, absolutely. And so people that I've never even heard talking about boxing before have messaged me about that fight and talking about it. So it's opened up to a wider audience. And then the big question after that was who would be next for AJ. And I think everyone involved, particularly in the UK, would love to see the Fury fight and Fury back. I'd say similar to yourself, a similar amount of time to yourself as Fury's had out, and he's trying to get back onto it, back into things now. I know you've watched the heavyweight division very closely, so from seeing Anthony Joshua and Fury, if they were to face each other, say next year when Fury's had a fight or two, and they're both got sort of peak fitness, say, how would you see that fight panning out?
I think AJ is very much like a Klitschko, where he's very robotic, very efficient at what he does. He looks the goods, he's very athletic, all that sort of stuff. But I see Fury being that sort of person that just gets in your head, obviously number one. But it's just that weird and awkward with his 6'9" and long arms and just the way he operates that he puts you off. He really does put you off. He'll hit you from positions and points where you're not used to, or you haven't been used to in sparring, all that sort of stuff. Very much like a Machida in UFC. You can't train for someone who's just awkward and weird. You know what I mean? So you can do as much as you can. From my point of view, I think Tyson Fury takes that as well.
Yeah, I'd say it's a great debate. It's raging on, and I'm sure it will do until we see those boys again. And then so WBA obviously got Parker, and it looks like they're trying to line up Dillian White or Tony Bellew for that fight. Or Tony Bellew, David Haye, another one that we haven't caught up since. What were your thoughts on that fight? 'Cause I know you and David Haye have gone back and forth a few times online.
I don't like the whole injury thing. If you are injured or whatever, then don't fight. Or if you are injured, then get out. You know what I mean? Something like an Achilles is a big thing. You know what I mean? So hopefully he does come back. I do like David Haye in terms of what he does for the sport and everything else. I'd still like to punch him in the face, but that's a different story, there was talk about myself and David Haye fighting before. The thing that people don't realise is that there was a $2 million fight, yes, but out of that $2 million, I hadn't got $1 million straight off the bat. So I would have got the percentage of the rest of the $1 million.
Right.
So it was either take that or fight for the world title. So I took the I took the option of fighting for the world title. You know what I mean? At that point, that was more important to me than fighting for a percentage of $2 million.
So I remember we spoke around about that time, and so your point at that point was, I want to win belts first and foremost, and then I'll worry about money afterwards.
Well, think about it. If the smart point of view of it would have been me win the title, then fight for double the money against Haye after. That was always the plan. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, that never came about, but it could still.
And with that in mind, then is your focus now looking at the future and thinking maybe I only do have 3 or 4 fights or a couple of big fights in me, so I need to earn the most money, or are you still of that mindset you had before, where the belts that's your main goal?
It's a bit of both. I'm 38 now, but again I've started late, and I've only had 2 fights in the last 2 years, so I'm still
miles on the clock aren't going on.
I really have a lot to sort of give. At the same time, I like belts, and obviously having the belts gets you the bigger fights anyway. But at the end of the day, if I didn't win another belt or another title but got paid, I'm all good. You know what I mean? Like it is about longevity. Getting out before I have anything wrong with myself. as well as setting myself and my family up. So if I never won another belt but got paid, I'm all good. But I would love to at least win my title back and legitimately keep it at home for that sake, and win whatever I can. Yeah.
Excellent. And then so let's move on to the WBA then. They've seen and found themselves in a right mess, which is some of their own doing and some out of their control.
That's right.
So I mean, since you were stripped, there was the debate of who was going to be the next fight, and that fight hasn't even happened yet. It's been a year. And so Quendo and Briggs were meant to fight, and now Briggs has been caught up on PED charges, which I know you'll have a thought on because he was more than vocal about your charges.
That's right.
And what are your thoughts on that?
Well, the fact of the matter is, I get called a cheat almost every day by 4 to 5 people. You know what I mean? Most of these people are from the UK, which I honestly don't understand why. I have a shitload of fans in the UK, don't get me wrong, and I thank you very much for all that. But in terms of the abuse I get, 95% of it comes from the UK. So I don't know if it's a society thing, a social thing, I have no idea, but thank you.
It's the shitty weather, everyone's just inside on the keyboards.
Yeah. So, from my point of view, I got done over the first time well and truly. Now, whether you believe that or not, I don't really care. The second time was my fuck up, yes, but it was a pre-workout from the shop. So I'm not a drugs cheat, I'm not taking any drugs, never was taking any drugs. Now, for Briggs to come out and abuse me and try and get the hype and I'm OD'd and all this sort of stuff, and then come in with twice the amount of testosterone in your body, like, you're an idiot. You know what I mean? Like, eat one hard. So, I don't think it's on the same level in any way whatsoever. Obviously, we both got stripped of fighting for the title, but I think we're on 2 different levels there. Absolutely. So we've gone through this time and time again with your charges and things like that. But I think there is a difference, between those kind of things. And I think if you look at Shannon Briggs, I'm not a medical professional in any way, shape or form, but I'm pretty sure that you shouldn't get fitter and bigger as you get old, as you reach the end of your career. And it's about asthma.
Yes. So we'll see what happens there. Whether Briggs comes back or not, we'll see. But with the WBA, I mean, has there been discussions about whether you'll come back into the rankings at some point, or have they said you have to start again?
It's not that I'll see. I'm still 24-0, so I'm still undefeated, all that sort of stuff. So I think if I have the 1 or 2 fights, then they have to put me in the rankings at some point, no matter what. You know what I mean? So even if it's the top 15, I'm still eligible for a title.
Because I think we saw with David Hay after 5 years out, he came back and fought Mark Demore and was immediately in the top 10.
That's right. That's who you know.
So they obviously don't have a problem with sort of reinstating people if they prove themselves, and like you say, you've got the record there.
That's right.
And then the WBC is obviously still held by Wilder. I'm not even sure if he's had a fight since we've last spoke either, and if he has, not really one.
Not sure. No. That's right. No one really gives a shit, do they?
I think he's sort of putting that belt to sleep over there, and so Klitschko's been made mandatory for that title. So the question is whether he takes the AJ rematch or Wilder or the title.
I don't understand that. How do you come off a loss and then go into mandatory position for something for another title? It's Klitschko, so fair enough. But it's a bit. Where'd that come from?
It's off 2 losses, off the back of 2 losses.
Thank you.
So I won't forget Fury. I mean, I think the Wilder Klitschko fight would be pretty interesting. I can see Klitschko dealing with Wilder in a much easier fashion than he did with Joshua.
I think so, yes. I personally don't think Wilder's a very good boxer in any way whatsoever. He hits like an absolute mule. But
may agree.
Mr. Windmill specialist and everything, and I think he gets too emotionally involved as well, and he really sort of gets in there. So, as a pure boxer, you can't box for shit, but you can hit. You can definitely hit. So if you get punched, you're going out.
Definitely. And I take it that's always one that's been on your radar. I know we spoke about it a fair bit. And is there a plan in place for yourself? Obviously, you've got the fight next Friday in Punch Bowl. Is there a plan in place to fight 2 or 3 more times this year? Is there?
I really want to, yes. Unfortunately, I'm in the predicament. I can't say too much about it because I actually don't know too much about it. But with Hatton and the contract and all that sort of stuff, my contract was supposed to be up in April. Obviously, through the inactivity and banning and stuff like that, it was going to be extended. It's now up to the lawyers and everything else to sort of see how long that ban is for and how much and all that sort of stuff. So I actually don't know because the lawyers are looking after it. But I am under the assumption I'm still with Hatton at the moment. For how long left, I don't know. So that'll also come into effect with the fights.
Yeah.
My manager Matt Clark has recently signed a young fella from the Virgin Islands, and I believe the young fella is putting a show on in the Virgin Islands in August.
Right.
So that'll be a nice one for me to go over there, do some sparring with him, and get on the show as well. So hopefully that comes up for me. Virgin Islands.
Mate, I wouldn't mind a holiday myself either. All right, and what's the situation with Hatton as far as you're concerned? Are you looking to move away from him once that's up?
I've been straight out with him. He's asked me if I want to re-sign, and I've said no. I think it's been 5 years now. I think 5 years is long enough. I want to have a bit more control over myself and my own dealings. It's been sort of just the point where I want to fight, I want to do this, I've got to ask Hatton. Like, I don't want to have to ask someone if I can do something all the time, and then get told no because it doesn't go with their plan, you know what I mean? I was very upset personally about the whole the rankings business. I was top 5 in the world across all 4, and then all of a sudden I was just ranked with the WBA, and then got basically screwed over for 2 years. You know what I mean? So from an outside looking in, it seemed they did a fantastic job getting you into the position for the world title, but then there seemed to be a point after that where it was kind of it might be more effort than it's worth. It's all what it seemed like from the outside. That's right. Yeah.
And do you kind of feel that's how it was for you as well?
Very much so. Very much so. We sort of put all the eggs in one basket, and then that's all we had. You know. So I didn't like the fact that happened, but it did, and it was out of my control. So I've sort of re-signed a 1-year deal with my manager, and we've both basically come up and said we've got a year to make something out of it. If not, I'll move on as well. Like I'm just at that point. I was 38 years old. I can't muck around.
No time to mess around.
I just want to get in there and fight and make some money.
And so when you signed with Hatton, in terms of big promoters here in Australia, there wasn't really that option.
No.
Now we're seeing Duco Promotions over in New Zealand who've done an amazing job with Joseph Parker and with Jeff Horn.
That's right.
They've got Parker the WBO title. They've got Horn the fight with Pacquiao and the WBO title as well. Has there been any discussions between them and yourself as to fighting Parker or fighting with them or for them or anything like that?
Not so much at the moment. I think there's a little bit of dramas over there anyway in terms of like them splitting or talks and whatever it is. So I don't want to go and try and source anything else out until I know what the hell's happening with myself.
That's
so
fair.
Once I do know what's going on, then we'll have a look at what's going on. But like there's definitely obviously people like Eddie Hearn, Aram. There's so many options out there without even looking at sort of Duco and things like that. So again, I just want to stay active and fight. That's the end of the story for me.
And so Aram's been in Australia recently with that Pacquiao fight coming up, and so it's well out of your division, but huge fight for Australian boxing having Manny Pacquiao come to Brisbane.
100%. I think it's great. I don't know how it's going to go. I haven't looked too much into Jeff Horn, and obviously you look at what Pacquiao will turn up, sort of thing. But it's definitely a great fight, no matter how you look at it.
And I think it's going to get everyone watching boxing again. And unlike Monday in Green, it should be an interesting fight to watch, and hopefully that will then that will go on to the rest of the sport.
Exactly.
And there's a good undercard as well. I know Paul Fleming's on the undercard, and Damien Hooper's just been announced, as well as Michael Conlon from Ireland. So. Great for Australian boxing. Will you be up there? Any talk of that so far?
Probably not. Depends on what I'm doing at the time. I don't even know when it's on. When is it on?
2nd July, Sunday.
Don't know.
So,
Don't know. I will probably be in Perth anyway. So it's a hell of a trip. So I don't know.
All right. So like I say, I know you can say come up and watch the boys spar and do a bit of training yourself here. So I will let you go. But if once you get this fight out of the way with Matt Greer next Friday, are you going to be staying in Sydney and trying to get another fight soon, or are you heading back to Perth? What's your sort of logistics?
There's a few options. Again, unfortunately, it's the whole Hatton deal at the moment. There's a lovely lady by the name of Astrid who's going to put on a show mid-July, I believe.
I
would like to get on that show. Whether it happens or not, I don't know. And then we've got August. So at the very least, I'll probably go home to Perth, see the kids, do all the stuff with the kids and everything else, and then take it from there. So
All right. We'll let you get off, and so we've taken up a fair bit of your time here this morning. So look, we'll catch up with you next Friday at Punch Bowl. Tickets still available for that through Paul and Hannah Nazari if you fancy coming down to watch Lucas or any other boys there.
Also for everyone else who isn't in the area, there will be a live stream. I haven't got the link yet, but through Andrew Wilcox.
And I'll share that stream as soon as it's up. And I'll tell you what, while we're doing plugs before you go, understand you've started up some new exercise routines that you're doing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. If anyone interested in, it's Keto OS is what the actual product's called. It's just a little sachet that you take a drink every day, but it also goes with a ketogenic diet and all that sort of stuff. So I've applied that in my own life at the moment. I'm 8 to 9 kilos down, depending on what day, and it's great. Yeah, it really is good, and more energy. There's a gentleman, one of my clients, who actually has brain issues, injuries and things like that, and has the shakes, and for the first time in like about 10 years he's been able to think clearer. He hasn't got the shakes, things like that. So it's not just a weight loss, so it's actually fat loss.
Yeah.
But it's not just that, there is so much more to it as well. So Keto OS is the actual product, and obviously get on any of my social media and ask me about it, and we'll sort you out.
Perfect. All right, we'll let you go, and we'll catch up very soon.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, Lucas. Thanks, mate.